I found someone worth my time. My name is Ethan Caldwell. I'm a 44-year-old commercial architect in Savannah, Georgia, sitting in my home office staring at an email from my wife of 12 years. Lena was supposedly a yoga retreat in Arizona. The timestamp showed 11:22 p.m. her time. I've moved your inheritance into my personal account. It's better this way. Attached was a blurry photo, her and some guy with a beard on a balcony. Sunset behind them, glasses of wine, her smile different than any she'd given me in years. I closed my laptop and walked to the kitchen, poured a glass of water, stared out at the backyard we'd redesigned together 3 summers ago. The stone path I'd lay while she planted hydrangeas along the edges. All that work for a home she apparently had no intention of coming back to. That money, $587,000 from my Aunt Ruth, wasn't just cash. It represented the woman who'd taken me in after my parents died when I was 14, who'd worked double shifts at the hospital to put me through college, who'd left everything to me with one simple note: build something that lasts. I looked at my phone. No missed calls, no texts asking if I'd seen the email. Just silence, like she'd already moved on to her new life. The signs had been there for months. Lena's yoga retreats had become more frequent. 2 days became 4 days, became week-long excursions. Her phone stayed face down on tables. Passwords changed. Conversations shortened. 3 months ago, she'd asked odd questions about the inheritance, where exactly the money was, which accounts, whether we should diversify where it was held. I'd nodded, said I'd think about it. I reopened the laptop, read the email again, noticed she hadn't even bothered with a greeting or my name, just the declaration and the theft. I typed 6 words in response: thanks for letting me know. Then I closed the laptop, finished my water, and went to bed. Tomorrow would be a long day, but sitting alone in that king-sized bed, I realized something that should have bothered me but didn't. I slept better, knowing she wasn't coming home. What Lena didn't know was that I'd sensed something wrong months ago. The inheritance had never been where she thought it was, and her attempt to take it had just given me everything I needed. I met Lena 15 years ago at an industry conference in Charlotte. She was launching her wellness brand, looking for architects to design her first brick-and-mortar space. I was 5 years into my career, hungry for projects that weren't just office buildings and parking structures. We married within 3 years, built a life in Savannah, where my firm had its headquarters. Bought the Craftsman on Victory Drive with the wraparound porch she'd always wanted. No kids, her choice. The business is my baby, she'd say. I understood. My buildings were mine. For 8 years, things worked. I designed. She built her brand of organic products and wellness retreats. We traveled, we hosted dinner parties, we looked good on paper and in person. Then my Aunt Ruth got sick, cancer, fast and merciless. I took a 6-month partial leave to care for her in Atlanta. Lena visited twice. Hospitals depress me, she explained. I didn't push it. When Ruth died, she left everything to me. The money surprised me. I had no idea she'd invested so carefully over the years. Lena seemed surprised, too, suddenly interested in our financial planning in ways she'd never been. We should put it toward expanding the business, she suggested one night over dinner. Her business, she meant. I need to think about what Ruth would want, I said. That was the first crack, small, but visible. Others followed. Lena started traveling more for research and supplier meetings, where calls became shorter, often with voices in the background that went quiet when I asked who she was with. Our neighbor Doug stopped by one afternoon, while Lena was at a team retreat in Sedona. Saw someone dropping her off last week, he mentioned casually. Late, wasn't it? Thought you were out of town. I had been. 3-day conference in Boston. I thanked him for the homemade bread his wife had sent over. Didn't ask questions, just filed it away. Then came the password changes. Banking apps locked when they'd never been before. Conversations about finances that ended abruptly when I asked specific questions. One night, I found her on the phone in the backyard, voice low, laughing in ways she didn't laugh with me anymore. Just Madison from the studio, she said, coming inside. Madison, who'd left the business 8 months earlier. I nodded, didn't correct her, Just watched as she poured herself more wine and changed the subject. The foundation was cracking beneath us, and only one of us was being honest about it. 2 weeks before Lena left for what would be her final retreat, my firm's financial advisor called. "Someone's been trying to access information about your trust accounts," Jerry said. "Using your personal information, but not passing the security protocols." "Which accounts?" I asked, though I already knew. "The inheritance funds. They tried using the last four of your social, but couldn't answer the security questions." I thanked him, hung up, and sat at my desk for a long time. That night, Lena asked if we could simplify our accounts. "It's silly to have so many separate login and passwords," she said. Not meeting my eyes, "We should consolidate everything." "You're probably right," I said. "I'll talk to Jerry about it." The next day, I drove to Atlanta, met with Rita Wallace, my aunt's attorney for 20 years, and now mine. Explained my concerns without emotion or accusation, just facts. "Your aunt was wise to suggest the irrevocable trust structure," Rita said, after I finished. "The money is protected regardless of what happens in your marriage. And if someone tried to move those funds without authorization... Rita's expression hardened. "That would be attempted financial fraud with clear legal consequences." I nodded. "Let's document everything, and I want to set up a monitoring system that alerts us to any attempts to access, move, or change anything related to the trust." When I got home, Lena had packed for her retreat. She kissed me briefly before leaving, already distant. "I might extend this one," she said at the door. "Really dive deep into the practice." I helped load her bags into her car, watched her drive away, went back inside, and opened my laptop. I didn't snoop through her emails or texts, didn't call her friends or check her location. I simply opened our shared cloud storage, where we kept household documents in a folder labeled Home Renovation Ideas, a project we discussed starting this year. I found what I was looking for. Documents she'd forgotten to move or delete, screenshots of my accounts, copies of statements, notes about transfer protocols, a photo of a whiteboard with figures, my inheritance amount minus 20% with the note transfer fee explanation. She'd been planning this for months. I closed the folder, walked through our house with its carefully chosen furniture and artwork that told the story of who we pretended to be, and felt a strange calm settle over me. The betrayal wasn't shocking. What surprised me was my own response, not rage or grief, but clarity. For the first time in years, I saw our marriage for what it had become. A transaction she was now terminating because something more profitable had come along. I slept in the guest room that night and started making calls the next morning. By the time Lena's email arrived 5 days later, I had already set everything in motion. After receiving Lena's email, I waited exactly 24 hours before making my first move. No emotional response, no desperate calls or texts, just methodical steps. First, I contacted Jerry and Rita, forwarding them Lena's email with a simple note, "Documentation requested." Both confirmed receipt, neither needed further explanation. Then I called Thomas Webb, a divorce attorney Rita had recommended months earlier during one of our hypothetical conversations. His secretary scheduled a meeting for that afternoon. By noon, Lena had texted, "Did you get my email?" I responded, "Yes, that's all you have to say." She wrote back. I didn't answer. Instead, I drove to Thomas's office downtown, where Rita joined us by video call. "The attempted transfer creates a paper trail," Thomas explained, reviewing the documents Rita had sent over. "There are multiple elements that work in your favor. The funds were inherited, never commingled with marital assets, properly maintained in a trust structure, and she has now openly admitted to attempting unauthorized access. What's next?" I asked. "File for divorce immediately, citing financial misconduct. Georgia isn't a no-fault state. When fraud is involved." I signed the paperwork before leaving his office. At 4:30 p.m., my phone rang, Lena's name on the screen. "You're being childish," she said when I answered. "No greeting, no how are you." "This doesn't have to be difficult." "I agree," I said. "Then let's be adults about this. The money is already moved. Fighting it will just drain more through legal fees. Where are you staying?" I asked. Changing the subject, she paused, thrown off balance. "What does that matter? Just curious where home is now." "Ethan, Focus, we need to discuss the financial arrangements. I'm having my lawyer draw up settlement papers. It's better for both of us to keep this clean. Who's your lawyer? I asked. David Lawrence. He's already reviewing everything. I wrote down the name. That's helpful, thank you. Lena, are you even listening? This doesn't have to be difficult, you said that already. I appreciate your concern for making this easy. Another pause. What are you doing? Nothing yet. Getting used to the idea. I guess. I could hear her relax on the other end, misreading my calm as resignation. It's for the best, she said, softening her tone. We've been moving in different directions for years. This is cleaner than dragging it out. You're right, I agreed. Cleaner is better. After we hung up, I called Thomas back and gave him David Lawrence's information. Then I sent a single text to Lena, taking some time to process. We'll reach out when I'm ready to discuss details. Her response came immediately. Don't wait too long. Papers will be ready by Friday. 3 days away. Perfect timing. At 6 p.m., Rita called. The trust company has recorded 3 separate attempts to initiate transfers from the trust accounts today. All properly documented and blocked. The monitoring system capture everything. IP addresses, login attempts, timestamps. The access location matches where the email originated from, Arizona. Scottsdale, not Sedona. She paused. There's more. The system flagged suspicious activity from last month. Someone exported account details and transfer protocols while logged in through your home network. We have timestamps and device identifiers. I thanked her and hung up. Walked through the empty house that now felt more like evidence than a home. In the kitchen, I opened the bottle of 20-year-old scotch we'd been saving for our 15th anniversary. Poured 2 fingers into a glass. Lena thought she'd set the trap. She had no idea she'd walked right into one herself. The next morning, David Lawrence called. His tone was professionally cautious. Mr. Caldwell, I'm representing your wife in your separation. She's indicated you're amenable to a straightforward settlement. Is that what she said? A slight hesitation. She mentioned you understood the situation. Which situation would that be? Specifically, another pause. The division of assets, including recent inheritance funds. Has she shown you documentation of these funds? She's provided statements, he said carefully. Recent ones from approximately 3 months ago. I made a note. And transfer confirmations? She's indicated those are forthcoming from the bank. I see. I kept my voice neutral. Has she also mentioned the structure of the inheritance? The irrevocable trust established by my late aunt? The legal impossibility of what she's claiming to have done? Silence, Mr. Lawrence. I suggest you verify the information you've been given before proceeding. My attorney will send relevant documentation to your office today. After hanging up, I drove to Brightstone Bank, where Lena and I had kept our personal accounts for years. The manager, Harold, had handled our mortgage refinancing 2 years earlier. I need to review recent activity on all joint accounts, I explained after he welcomed me into his office. Harold pulled up our information. His expression shifted as he scrolled through the screens. There have been significant withdrawals, he said, over the past 3 months. How significant? He turned the monitor toward me. Regular transfers from our joint account to one I didn't recognize. Small at first, $2,000, $3,500, then escalating. The most recent, $47,000 2 weeks ago. This receiving account, I asked, pointing to the number. Is it with Brightstone? Harold checked. No, it's external. Northern Lakes Credit Union. I'd never heard of it. Can you print the transaction history for the past 6 months? While waiting for the printouts, I received a text from Thomas Lawrence requesting urgent meeting. Tone significantly changed. By the time I returned to Thomas's office, the picture was becoming clearer. The Northern Lakes account had been opened 8 months ago in Lena's name only. The address listed was an apartment in Scottsdale, Arizona. Total withdrawals from our joint accounts, $178,250. She's been building a new life for a while, Thomas observed, while still having access to mine. I added. We were reviewing the bank records when Thomas's assistant announced David Lawrence was on the line. I've received the trust documentation, Lawrence said. his voice tight. My client may have misrepresented certain aspects of the financial situation, including her ability to access or transfer those funds. That appears to be the case, he admitted. Given this new information, I believe it would be beneficial for all parties to discuss a revised approach. My client has already filed for divorce, citing financial misconduct, Thomas replied. The documentation speaks for itself. After the call ended, Thomas looked at me. He'll drop her as a client by end of day. No legitimate attorney wants to be associated with this. What about the money she actually did take from the joint accounts? We'll include it in the filing. Document everything. Let her explain to a judge why she established a hidden residence and systematically drained marital assets. I nodded, feeling strangely hollow. The betrayal went deeper than I'd imagined. This wasn't impulsive, it was calculated. There's one more thing, I said. I need to know who he is, not for confrontation, not even for the divorce proceedings. I just need to understand the full scope of what I missed while building what I thought was a life together. Thomas nodded. I'll have someone look into it. That evening, my doorbell rang. A courier stood holding an envelope. Delivery for Ethan Caldwell. Inside was a letter from David Lawrence, formally withdrawing as Lena's legal representation, with copies sent to both Lena and the court. Attached was a note from Thomas. First domino. Minutes later, my phone lit up. Lena calling. I let it go to voicemail. She called 3 more times before sending a text. What the hell did you do? I didn't respond. While eating a sandwich at the kitchen counter, I received an email from Rita with a subject line. Update. The trust company had completed their investigation. Multiple unauthorized access attempts were documented across 3 months, including IP addresses and timestamps. The report confirmed Lena's direct involvement and had been referred to their legal department for potential criminal investigation. Rita added, no action required from you at this time. But be aware, this path is now open. I forwarded everything to Thomas. Just after 9 p.m., another text from Lena. We need to talk now, I reply. Through your new attorney, when you have one. You've completely overreacted. I was angry when I sent that email. I didn't actually move anything. That's not what the access logs show. A long pause. Then, what access logs? Instead of answering, I send one question. Who is he? 20 minutes passed. Finally, this isn't about him. Name. Another long pause. Jason. But he's not important. Jason Barkley. He's just a friend who's helping me through this. You're focusing on the wrong thing. I didn't respond. Instead, I searched the name. Jason Barkley, yoga instructor at a studio in Scottsdale, former investment broker. According to his LinkedIn profile, he'd left the financial sector 3 years ago to pursue more meaningful connections. The next morning, I met with Doug, our neighbor. The guy you saw dropping Lena off, I began. Would you recognize him again? Doug nodded. Tall guy. Beard. Gray Tesla. I showed him the photo from Lena's email. This him? He squinted at the image. Yeah, that's the guy. He was here maybe 5, 6 times while you were traveling. I thanked him. Asked if he'd be willing to provide a statement. He agreed without hesitation. At 11 a.m., Thomas called. We've got a complication. Lena's hired Philip Barnes. I knew the name. Barnes was known for aggressive divorce litigation, expensive but effective. He's requested an emergency hearing to contest the financial misconduct claim. Says his client has evidence all financial decisions were discussed and agreed upon. When's the hearing? Monday morning. 3 days away. I thought about the apartment in Scottsdale, the hidden bank account, and the man named Jason who'd been in my house while I was away. Let's give Barnes something to think about, I said. That afternoon, Thomas delivered a package to Barnes's office containing trust access logs, bank records showing systematic withdrawals, apartment lease in Lena's name in Scottsdale, Doug's notarized statement about Jason's visits, screenshots from Lena's home renovation folder showing detailed account breach planning. By 5 p.m., Thomas received a call. Barnes is requesting an urgent meeting to discuss settlement options, Thomas said. He's seen enough. He's seen enough, Thomas said. They're offering a clean split. She keeps what she already took, makes no further claims. You keep everything else, including the house and full inheritance. Counter, I said. She returns half of what she took from the joint accounts and signs a non-disclosure agreement. I don't pursue the fraud angle. Thomas raised an eyebrow. You could get more. I don't want more. I want done. The morning of what would have been our emergency hearing, Lena and her attorney arrived at the courthouse. No judge, no media, just Thomas and a pre-drafted settlement agreement. I waited in a consultation room. Through the glass wall, I saw Lena's face change as Thomas handed over the evidence file. Photos, statements, account logs. Her posture collapsed. Her lawyer whispered in her ear. She glanced once toward my room, then looked away. 10 minutes later, they entered. My client accepts the terms, Barnes said. Lena signed the agreement, hands trembling but decisive. I signed my portion, then handed her a separate envelope. What's this? She asked. The passwords. To the cloud storage, the alarm, whatever you might need to retrieve what you left behind. Her eyes finally met mine. Searching for anger, triumph, finding neither. Just stillness. It was never about the money, I said. That would have been simpler. Barnes touched her elbow. She stood, clutching the envelope, never looked back. 6 months later I sold the house on Victory Drive. Too many empty rooms, too many ghosts to repaint. The new owners, a young couple with twins, loved the wraparound porch and the hydrangeas along the stone path. I moved into a loft downtown, walking distance to my office. Thought less furniture, kept fewer things. Rita helped restructure the inheritance into a foundation for architectural scholarships for kids who'd lost parents. The first recipient, a 17-year-old girl from South Georgia. Her essay on designing spaces that heal moved the entire selection board. Ruth would have loved her, Rita said during the award ceremony. One afternoon, I found an envelope in my mailbox, no return address. Inside, a check for $89,275 and a note, the rest of what I owed. Not just the money, no signature, none needed. That evening, I walked to the riverfront, where Lena and I had once dreamed of opening a joint venture. I sat on a bench, the check in my pocket. Tomorrow I'd deposit it into the foundation, another scholarship. Another brick toward something that lasts. My phone buzzed. A text from Jerry. Dinner still on for 7, bringing that architect I mentioned. I checked my watch. Just enough time to walk home, change, and head out. Just enough time to say yes to whatever came next.